And now, I'd like to turn the call over to Karen Razor. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Harv. Hi, I'm Karen Razor, Director of Nonprofit Relations of GuideStar. Thank you very much for participating in another of GuideStar's free webinars for nonprofits. GuideStar is committed to helping donors make better and more informed decisions and to help nonprofit organizations become more effective and efficient. We offer these free webinars as one way to share with you what we're learning about nonprofit practice and for you to tell us about your successes and challenges in improving your nonprofit organization. Today's session is a look at user reviews for nonprofits and what they can do to set your organization apart, enhance your public image, and increase donations and promote your mission. Should you wish to tweet about this webinar, you are welcome to. The hashtags are on the title slide. Today, it gives me great pleasure to welcome the experts we have on this topic who are joining us. Dan Moore, Vice President of Nonprofit Programs at GuideStar, will speak about nonprofit reviews on GuideStar. Perla Nee, CEO of Great Nonprofits, will give a comprehensive overview of Great Nonprofits, the nonprofit review site. And Kathleen Howard, CEO of Global Links, and Robert Eggers, CEO of DC Central Kitchen, will each speak about their experience with having reviews about their organizations. Following the presentation, we will take questions from the audience. Please submit your questions using the sidebar feature, and you may enter them at any time during the presentation. At this point, I'm pleased to introduce GuideStar's Vice President of Nonprofit Programs, Dan Moore.
Thanks, Karen, and thank you to everybody who's on the call today. We really appreciate you joining with us. GuideStar is a nonprofit organization, and like everyone on the call, we're mission-focused, and our mission is to revolutionize philanthropy and nonprofit practice by providing information, and we do this in three ways: to advance transparency, and we'll talk about that today a little bit. Enable users to make better decisions, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well, and to encourage charitable giving. So that's our mission. We're a mission-driven nonprofit, and we want to tell you a little bit more about what it is that we do and why we are working in the way that we do our work. On this slide, you'll see that GuideStar is collecting information from a variety of sources. We are known for the site that put the 990 on the internet, but that's just a piece of what we do, and this slide really shows that. We gather program information through our GuideStar Exchange program, and we want to encourage nonprofits to share information with us. And if you see in this slide, you share information with us. We share this information with a variety of our partners, and we also share our tools with nonprofits as a way of rewarding the organizations that work with us in a variety of different ways. You'll see that we're also gathering information directly from constituents. That's what we do with our partnership with Great Nonprofits. We're also working with other experts to share their reviews of organizations, and we're working with Philanthropedia, GiveWell, Root Causes, and we're looking to bring more and more organizations into that fold. You'll see in the middle, we share our information with leading nonprofit intermediaries that do online giving, like our friends at Networks for Good and Just Give. We work with all of the leading commercial donor-advised funds that give billions of dollars to charities every year, Fidelity and Schwab and T. Rowe Price and all of those there. We also work with organizations like Causes at Facebook. So when you update your information at GuideStar, it goes all across the internet to put your profile in front of millions and millions of people. And on the last piece, you see all the different people who use our GuideStar data, whether it's individuals, private foundations, the media. Other nonprofits are looking at your information on GuideStar to learn more about your organization and how it is that you do your work. Now, just earlier this week, we've launched a refresh of our website, and we wanted to create higher prominence for writing reviews. We believe that volunteers and beneficiaries of your services have important stories to tell, and we'll hear about that from Kathleen and Robert, how they're using reviews as a way of engaging their supporters and their volunteers and those that they serve to become better nonprofits. It's a really exciting story, so we'll get to that in a moment. So now as you go across the GuideStar website, we're calling out the review of a charity in a more prominent way. And we'll continue to figure out new ways of doing that because we think that engaging people in sharing their reviews is really critical to our future success. The information appears on our public reports, so the GuideStar Exchange reports. You'll see the average star rating and access to those reports. You'll see that when you have an up-to-date profile, you'll be able to add things like logos and talk about your mission statement. And there's a variety of other information that we collect from nonprofits to create a robust profile of what it is that you do and who runs your organization. So in our partnership with great nonprofits, people are reading reviews about your organization, if there are reviews on them, and they're engaging with you and finding out more about how real people are interacting and learning from your nonprofit. And that's kind of the tee up to talking about, well, why are we doing this and what are reviews all about? And I wanted to share and introduce, share the stage and introduce our colleague and partner, Perla Nee at Great Nonprofits, to take the presentation from this point and walk you through what reviews are all about and how they work. Perla?
Thank you so much, Dan. And thanks, everyone, for joining. And I promise we won't be talking at you for too long. But we'll have plenty of time for your questions and your comments in this presentation. So first of all, why reviews? I wanted you guys to take a look at some of these name brands. These are all sites where people write reviews about products. And review sites tend to be of the 30 of top sites visited, they're number 3 in all of the sites combined. They're extremely popular, but I'd love to just get a poll from you guys to see how many of you guys use review sites to make your decisions. Whether it be about restaurants, movies, books, how many of you guys use a review site before you make a purchasing decision? And you guys can click on. Is the poll function working for you guys?
It'll be open in just 1 second.
Okay. There you go. So go ahead and click on your answer and then click the submit button. And then we should all be able to see our results in about a couple of seconds or so.
So Perla, why don't you tell us what you do? I click sometimes because I do this sometimes. How about you?
Well, I have to admit, I'm kind of obsessed with reviews. So I use it a lot, especially for when I'm looking to try a new place, a new restaurant or something, and I don't have a lot of information about it. I'll typically go to OpenTable and look for reviews from other people who've gone there.
So you're an always person?
I'm a frequently person. The only area where I don't probably always look up a book is probably book reviews when, I have friends or family who tell me, oh, the latest, Harry Potter book is fantastic, and I'll just go out and buy it based upon their word of mouth. But for a lot of when I'm trying to explore new, things I haven't done before, I haven't tried before, where I don't have close friends or family who are always, talking about their latest thing, then I'll definitely look at reviews. For nonprofits, I think that the analogy here is that people don't talk every day about nonprofits. We like to think that they do. but in actual fact, they're more likely to talk about American Idol, or they're more likely to talk about, the latest new iPad gadget. And so this is a way where reviews from people who actually have had a fantastic experience with you can be online and can be disseminated to a much larger sector of the population than just, the one or two people that, someone might mention, oh, by the way, I volunteer here, or I contribute to this charity. It provides kind of a magnification, a megaphone effect for your stories. Okay, so I think the poll results are over here. Okay, so most of you guys said sometimes, and 48% said sometimes, and 35% said frequently. Great.
So half the group is like me, and the other half is like you.
Exactly. Yeah. And what the research shows is across the general population, 65% of the time reviews are always or most of the time looked at before making a decision to purchase. So it's really interesting how, it's sort of the word of mouth effect, and people talk about crowdsourcing a lot, and it's the same kind of notion is that, you trust kind of the opinions of other people who are similar to yourself when there's lots of them and they're aggregated in some form or fashion. So this is sort of the genesis of what Great Nonprofits is about, and this is the reason why we're partnered with GuideStar, is because we think these reviews, which in essence are really short, personal narrative stories about your nonprofit and its impact in your community and on individuals, we really think that this is a great way for nonprofits to harness sort of, the crowdsourcing, the free services of the internet, the ability to capture feedback from your constituents, the ability to give voice to your constituents, the ability to engage your donors and volunteers in a very, inexpensive, it's basically free, way to get these kind of word-of-mouth testimonials. The reason I think that's particularly important for nonprofits is that it's a very easy and quick way to tell your story when you don't have a lot of resources. We all know all nonprofits are strapped for money, and especially the marketing department is strapped for money. And yet we all know that, the marketing department has the most important role to fulfill in many ways, and that they keep the nonprofit engine going with getting supporters and donations to fund your programs and your projects. Every nonprofit in this country has supporters of some sort. You guys have either volunteers, you guys have clients, you have donors, or you have other community partners or stakeholders. And these are all people who have something to say about your organization. Let's take an example of stories from clients. This is an example from Goodwill, San Francisco, and this was a client who served, and he even put his own photo up here. And he says, when I came to Goodwill, I was on parole, I was homeless, I was like a part-time father with kids who wandered in and out of their lives. I did Goodwill training program, and now I work in the warehouse. My finances are in order, I'm off parole, and I can provide for my children. I could be a positive role model to them. This is an example of a review from a client. Let's talk about how you can engage your volunteers. How many of you guys recruit your volunteers online? I think this is another poll that will pop up. There you go. Go ahead and put in your answer and click submit.
Well, we have an intern program, and we do outreach online, and there's some trade shows. So I guess I would be putting yes for that one then, right?
Yes, that's right.
And you guys use interns and other volunteers to work for great nonprofits as well, and you use the internet?
Absolutely. We're very much like a typical nonprofit in that we use a lot of volunteers as well as student interns, and they're absolutely critical for our success, in terms of making our programs work. The other interesting research about volunteers that I think is interesting for all of you guys to know is that of the people who volunteer, more than 52% later become donors. This is according to a UK study that was published, I think a year or so ago. And so, when you think about your volunteers, they're not just volunteers. These are people who are potentially also going to become your donors. And so it's another donor cultivation tool is to think about, how are we doing in terms of engaging our volunteers and really making them feel part of our mission and being heard.
But it sounds like when I look at the results, Pearl, we're about half and half here. A little slightly more people are using online tools to recruit, and about half are not.
Right, right. And I think that's a great. I think that's something that we're going to probably see more people engaging and finding volunteer opportunities online, especially the younger people who are moving into the sector. Oftentimes, especially with schools these days, the high schools and the universities all requiring public service as part of the schooling, is that more and more younger people are coming into the sector, and this is a great opportunity for them to find you online. Through the traditional way of finding volunteers, through networks of friends, those are all going to continue to be important. But now with Facebook and being so easily available, being so easy for people to invite their friends to join them at an event, I think you're going to see increasingly the use of online social media as well as general online communications to recruit volunteers. Just one shocking statistic I found out today. This website on Facebook for Converse sneakers. I don't know if you guys wear Converse sneakers, but it's very popular amongst the young people set. It has more than 2.5 million fans on Facebook. And one of the things they ask their fans to do is take a picture of their sneakers and post it online to their Facebook profile. And more than 3,000 people did that. And for me, that's just, that's amazing. How can we, channel and harness the energy and these passions of these young people for sneakers into nonprofits? If they're willing to spend time and, take a photo of their sneakers and put it online and talk about how much they love their sneakers. It would be great to think about how we as a nonprofit sector can, harness that kind of, young energy and somehow direct it to improving the nonprofit sector. Okay, let's move on. Let me just give you one example of a story that volunteers have posted online that's been really useful for a nonprofit. This is the Silver Stars of America, and I'll just read you a snippet of this review. I'm not sure if it's quite clear on your screen, but I'll just read a snippet so you can get a feel for the kind of emotional stories that your volunteers can tell about you. This person says, I was a volunteer after my son, a U.S. Marine, was wounded in Iraq. In addition to honoring and aiding the members of our military, this nonprofit has provided moral support, friendship, and understanding to me and my family. I've been honored to help our troops in any small way I can, whether it's raising money for banners to present to the wounded, sending cards and letters to the troops and those hospitalized, or just offering a kind word to support their family. The Silver Stars of America has made it possible. They're a great, loving bunch, and I'm proud to be one of them. And you can see there the photos uploaded by this volunteer. Next question I just wanted to get a quick read from you guys. How many of you guys recruit your donors online? You guys can fill out the form. And by the way, and Dan, you can step in here as well. Folks can donate to you through your GuideStar profile as well.
Yeah, that's a partnership that we have with Network for Good, and they have their own site, but they also operate Donate Now from our site. They operate Donate Now from causes. So it's part of that. Put your information in one place, and it appears in other places, and people are getting donations through GuideStar, and it's one of the metrics that we use to measure our impact. So I think that I click yes on this. We recruit donors online. We recruit them from foundations, and we recruit them in other ways, but we definitely use online tools to solicit donations.
Cool. I'm just waiting for the poll results.
So it looked like that that gentleman from the Silver Star he wasn't a 20-something. He was the father, right?
Yes.
From your last story, and that just shows that this is not just appealing to the younger generation, right?
Yeah, and in fact, we've gotten reviews from a whole variety of people. We've gotten reviews written by homeless people. We've gotten reviews written by parents of immigrant kids who've been in programs. We have reviews of people who were part of advocacy organizations. We've got reviews by nonprofit staff members who are writing a review about another nonprofit that they've partnered with. So it totally ranges, and of course, there's going to be some issue of internet divide, and maybe Robert or Kathleen can talk about those during their presentation. Robert, I know you serve a homeless population. But what we try to do to make it as easy as possible is if you have a population that do not have internet access, we actually have paper review forms that they can fill out and mail back to us. So that is also an option. But what we've found is, there's a lot of internet access even in libraries, and so it's not as big of a problem as we might think. Sometimes language might be a barrier in that they might not be proficient in English enough to write a review, but in terms of internet access, we tell people that you can always use the library or use the paper forms.
Yeah, I know that the Gates Foundation has done some great work funding libraries. It's like the old Carnegie libraries. It's the Gates libraries that are connecting us to the internet. It's pretty important stuff.
All right, guys, not sure why the poll results aren't showing, but we have 79% said yes, they do with donors online, and 21 said no.
Thanks, Harv.
Let me show you an example of a story by a donor. And the research shows that people generally like reviews by people who are similar to them. And so this is why reviews by donors are important, is because it's something that other donors can relate to. I chose this review because this donor is particularly public about his affiliation with this nonprofit. He uses actually his real name, Basil Stamos, and he's actually a relatively well-known individual funder, and he's funded the Global Clinton Initiative for many years, for instance. But this is a small nonprofit that he writes about. It's called the Cambodian Children's Fund. And of the things he says, the Cambodian Children's Fund serves the most poor and at-risk children in Cambodia. These are kids who are living and working at the municipal dump site outside Phnom Penh. Domestic violence, child abuse, substance abuse, and pedophilia are some of the problems many of the children face on a daily basis. I've visited the dump site several times, and we know, and we usually follow up at one of the safe homes for the children. The transformation of the children's lives is so dramatic. Almost everyone I've seen there have either gotten involved or made a donation to this organization. The children learn English, computer skills, and receive vocational skills in addition to going to public school. They also receive free medical and dental care. I now sponsor one of the little girls and have encouraged my investment firm, Sterling Stamos Capital Management, to provide annual funding as part of our corporate giving program. I know that all of you guys also have donors that are willing to be as public about the reason why they support you as this person, Basil Stamos. And if you can get reviews like this will make it so much easier for other donors to connect to your organization, I think. We also have another story of sort of a success story of impact when these reviews have been shared. The Oral Cancer Foundation from Newport Beach, California, which is a 10-year-old nonprofit, 2 full-time staff members, they got lots of really positive reviews from cancer survivors that have been helped by them. And the CEO took these reviews and he sent an email to his major donor group highlighting some of the reviews. And as a result, he got 2 new donors who each gave $50,000 to the organization, which is almost 50% of their annual budget. And then they also got an Entertainment Industry Foundation grant of $300,000 in unrestricted funding. That was sort of a very spectacular result from getting reviews, but it is just, it's just one really interesting anecdote of how a nonprofit used their reviews in terms of, really understanding its narrative, storytelling value and sending it off to their potential donors, and the potential donors saying, wow, now I really understand what you do, and I want to contribute to the cause. So I want to go to one of the most frequently asked questions that nonprofits have is, okay, these are all really nice, positive stories. What if I get a negative review? So I just want to address that. And first of all, we have a capability for you to respond to each and every review about you. There is a comment button under each review, and all you do is you click comment, and you can clarify what happened. You can provide factual data about what to support your case. you can basically tell your side of the story, and that's available under every review. We have automatic filter for certain speeds. The other thing to keep in mind that reviews are average, and so one negative review isn't going to be that significant if you have lots of reviews. And the fact that reviews are ordered by the most recent. And so you have new reviews that are more positive, the older negative review will be going down towards the bottom. And then two last points, people are used to the world of reviews, and no one expects anything to be perfect. I think if you go on Amazon.com, there's almost no universally acknowledged perfect product. There's going to be some people who disagree with each other, and I think people in the consumer world are used to that. And lastly, if you do get negative review, as long as it's honest and it's authentic, sometimes you might be able to learn something from it. I think, we're all imperfect, even great nonprofits. I think our average, we've gotten like 3-star reviews or 2-star reviews from certain people, and we've responded to those. And so we certainly want to see this as a way for the nonprofits ourselves to improve, and so we see it as another channel for constructive feedback. For the purpose of time, I think is it okay if we skip the next couple of polls? I want to go to the section where we talk about exactly how to get reviews, because I think for most of you guys, the notion of reviews is still relatively early and you don't have any reviews of your organization yet. You might be looking to, how do I get reviews on our website? We actually encourage you to invite reviews at this point. It's still very early, and this is a great way for you to frame the story by inviting your volunteers, your donors, your clients, your partners to write a review about you. You can do that via email. Send them an email with a link to your review page and say, hey, look, we're trying to get more feedback about what we do and trying to tell our story, tell our impact of our story in a more personal narrative way. We'd love for you to chime in. It'll only take 3 minutes for you to tell other people about, your experience with us. You can also, if you do use social media, you can put a link to writing a review on your Twitter or your Facebook. We've seen that work really, really well. Facebook is the #1 way that many nonprofits collect reviews. Is they post it to their Facebook wall and they ask people, hey, will you write a review about us? And just a quick glance at what those reviewers will see when they click on that link. Here is the first page. Basically, they choose a star rating from 1 to 5. They have an open text play field where they write about their experience. They identify the role that they played, if they were a volunteer or a donor or client. Then they move on to the next page where they write about what's great about your organization, and they also suggest one way that the organization can improve. And then there's quick registration, and they post their review. It's really, really simple. It takes just 3 minutes, so you're not asking a lot of them. And with that, maybe I will turn to Kathleen from GlobalLink. She's a nonprofit in Pittsburgh, and I'll leave her to tell you more about her experience with reviews.
Hello. We have been using the Great Nonprofit site for, my goodness, over a year, for sure. And I have found it to be incredibly helpful in just another level of getting the people that work with the organization involved. Because if they had an opportunity, the volunteers, for example, to post what their experience has been, it really gets them thinking about what they liked about their experience and to be able to write it down. We're also encouraging the people that we work with internationally to write reviews. That can be a little more difficult because a lot of the people that we work with don't always have access to the internet or things like that. But I think it's very important, and it can be an important tool. We link on our website to Great Nonprofits so that people will get an opportunity to read those reviews. I regularly log on to read the reviews that are coming through there, and if I see anything that I think that doesn't resonate exactly with me about what people are saying, then I know that we need to do a better job at educating maybe the volunteers in certain aspects of what we do. So if they're saying, this organization needs to have more supplies or things like that. And I'm thinking, well, no, that's not really what we need. And then I know that we need to do a better job of how we talk with the volunteers and educate them in their orientation with us. So, and when you have donors and financial supporters that log in and say why they support you, that's very powerful because certainly different things about any organization are going to resonate differently with different people. And it's really enlightening to the organization to know what it is about what we do that resonates with different people. We have a dual mission of promoting better environmental stewardship along with our medical humanitarian work. And with some people, the environmental aspect of what we do is what really resonates with them. With other people, it's the humanitarian aid aspect. So it's always very interesting as an organization leader to see how those things break down with the people that are supporting you, either through volunteerism or financial support, or, as Phyllis said, many times both.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. And just a quick background, you guys, I'm so impressed by Global Links. What they do is they take hospital equipment that is no longer needed from hospitals around the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, and they've got volunteers to refurbish them and clean the IV poles and clean the wheelchairs and repaint them and then deliver them to hospitals in the Caribbean and Latin America. And you guys have something like 100 reviews or something like that, Kathleen?
Yes.
From donors?
Yeah, we have a little over 100 right now.
And some of the reviews are just amazing from your volunteers who say, I have, delivered an incubator, baby incubator that I have cleaned to a hospital, and I've seen it, being used in a hospital in the Caribbean, and it's just amazing. You just know that those volunteers are going to be lifelong supporters of your organization.
Well, and I think what's really been wonderful for us, too, is that it's so important. I was just reading a review the other day that starts out saying, I know a lot of organizations say that they want volunteers and they value them, but my experience has been that they don't always use them well, and Global Links really uses volunteers well. That's a wonderful review and incentive to have other people volunteer here, and something we care deeply about, that we manage our volunteers well. And to have volunteers say that very thing, it's one thing for me to say it, it's another thing for the volunteers to say it. So that's very powerful. And, our goal this year is to have more and more people write reviews on great nonprofits from all different sectors of how they're involved with us. We've encouraged our board members to be involved and write reviews about why they're a board member, why they support us financially, what it is about the organization that resonates with them. And we think that's a really important process for everybody to even go through mentally for themselves, to kind of really think about why they support us.
That's super touching. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective. I know people will have questions towards the end to ask you as well. Let's move on to Robert. Robert is someone probably needs no introduction, but as you guys know, he's the head of DC Central Kitchen, and he's also the voice behind the Trade campaign, which represents the voices of the nonprofits in state as well as federal legislation and federal legislative issues. Robert, do you want to talk about DC Central Kitchen and what you guys have seen as reviews?
Yeah, no, sure, man. I'm thrilled to be here, and I think it's really important that we're having this conversation on Cesar Chavez's birthday. Because, since we opened, we have been 100% committed to being a dynamic, transparent, inclusive, powerful, great nonprofit. So, we've kind of brought this by any means necessary attitude, and a lot of that is being really open to this idea of people rating their experience. So almost from day one, we've been really open and anxious to reach out to people who eat the food we get, who go through our job training program, who employ our graduates, who give to us. Years ago, we hired a volunteer coordinator because we really believe that the experience the volunteers have and, what they leave thinking. We don't want to tell them what to think. We have a process here called the calculated epiphany. So we want to set the stage. The volunteers leave here with their own ideas But we think that's the most powerful way to make real change in America. So we've been really, almost since the beginning, asking volunteers to rate their experience here. You know, I'm just a big believer in our own organizational ability to translate what volunteers say into real impact, because obviously it allows us to tweak our services so that in effect we're really doing what we say we do. So that's a huge thing. It's tremendously good business for us to give volunteers this opportunity. And quite frankly, I'm always amazed. The more transparent you are, the more you show that you're committed to giving people voice and that you actually listen to what they say, they throw money at you. I hate to sound so crass, but in this time, in this day and age, I really think that people need to realize that being open like this and using this tool will translate into funding, and that's very, very important. But on a macro level, I must really admit, I came from food service. I ran nightclubs. And just very quickly, there was a miracle that happened. For many people who are younger, you grew up being able to get a great meal in just about any town in America. But 25 years ago, there was a real finite number of great restaurants in America. And what really changed that was a generation of, oftentimes, women food reviewers. And women back then were told when they learned to write, it was like, you're on the women's page, you're in the style section, you can review restaurants or food. And they took what was just a nebulous idea, what's a great meal? It was obviously a French meal, and they expanded this concept of what's a great meal in America. And that inch by inch, step by step evolution, so that in effect a bunch of us could say, let's go out to dinner tonight, and one might say, well, look, I'm a vegan, or another might say, I'd like to support a restaurant that buys local, I'd like to smoke a cigar, I don't have any transportation, I need to be near public transportation. They, inch by inch steps, have built this huge metric that now allows, us to really go on and to your earlier point, to look at reviews and trust based on kind of a bigger communal sense of what is a great restaurant now. We could all of us go online and find a restaurant that made all of us happy. Like I said, there are all those different desires we might have. You could find a restaurant online that would meet all those desires because we built that. So at a macro level, I think what Great Nonprofits is doing is opening this amazing doorway that I believe in my heart. The more we empower the 80 million people to volunteer, I believe, like it did with food service, it will drive innovation in the nonprofit sector. Because, what those reviewers oftentimes did is they weren't known. They came in, and the idea that any customer might be a reviewer, and the next day in the Washington Post or any newspaper in America, there might be a review in any part of your service chain. A waiter, the person who parked the cars, the chef, anybody could be responsible for having a great review or a bad review. I think that kind of really kept everybody in the food service industry on their toes. And again, it elevated the entire concept of dining in America to the point where you can go to any country, any city, and any town and find not just one, not two, but a bunch of great restaurants.
Robert, that's a fantastic point. I didn't know that about the history of food in America. I'm definitely grateful for that. So I wanted to I wanted to laud Robert for being the very first. I'm going to show you guys a screenshot of this, but being the very first to trying out a new GuideStar widget that a nonprofit can put on their own website that allows people to write a review, and they would not leave your website. Let me see if I can just show a quick screenshot of that on your page. Ta-da! So this is the BC Central Kitchen web page, and if you see on the far right, there's a tab called Reviews. And when someone to your website clicks on that, they will see this floating thing come up. It's a review form, and it just floats on top of your existing page. It doesn't take anyone away anywhere, and people can write a review right then and there and submit it and never leave your web page. So
that is fantastic.
Oh, cool, thanks. That's a new widget, and for every one of you on this call, I have a special treat. We have codes for you guys all if you want to be the first ones to pilot this on your own website. One caveat is you guys are going to be betas, so there might be some glitches, but if Robert's willing to try it, I hope certainly you guys will too.
I give it 4 stars.
We will definitely do that.
Cool. So, Perla, we've got about 10 minutes for questions, and I think Karen is ready to start asking some questions here.
I sure am. Robert and Kathleen, I think that I've got a couple of questions that are specifically directed to you. What did your board think about having and writing reviews both before and after?
Well, I can speak for Global Links that I think they all, kind of urged them to do it, and when they didn't do it right away, we kind of urged them again. But once they were on the site and really looked at what the reviews were, and they really got into doing it, I think. And again, like I said before, it really gives you a little bit of time to sit down and really think yourself, why do I support the organization? Why am I doing it? So I think it's an important exercise, and they were very enthusiastic about it after they started it.
Yeah, I think the same thing here. I mean, I think we've always been, as I suggested earlier, really interested. We want to get our stuff out. We're quite committed to this idea of transparency. We think it's a very valuable thing for our organization. So I think there's always been an enthusiasm. But, I think neither of us have really gotten a bad review. And I think that I think that that's one of the evolving roles of great nonprofits in this idea is how do we continue to tweak it so that it becomes, not just a way for everybody to say, yay, Central Kitchen, as much as, not feel bad to say something. Because, again, we want to learn. We want to be the best at what we do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Another question that both of you might be able to address, has having reviews changed the way you do business?
Well, I think we do a lot of evaluation about our work at Global Links with our recipients, and we do it with our volunteers too. We haven't done it always. I mean, we've done it before. We had the Great Nonprofit site evaluation and letting people talk about their experience and rating it really and what we could do to improve. That's always been a big part of how we work because it's actually a requirement for our recipients overseas to provide an evaluation of our work and to be brutally honest about the work because it's only in reviewing that you'll ever hope to get better. And I couldn't agree with Robert more about the transparency learning organization. That is what's really going to make you a success. And I would say that we are always open to looking at what we do and perhaps tweaking those things that don't resonate as much with the people that we're serving, either through the volunteer program or the overseas program.
What's nice for us is obviously it's a chance for the men and women who interact more often with the volunteers to get a lot of spotlight. So you get a lot of name recognition. People say, I work with Bo, I work with Dwayne, or they really offer praise to frontline people. And we have a big discussion in the kitchen, even though there's clearly going to be departments. In effect, what we talk about all the time, we have a lot of staff meetings today. It's like, look, we're all in development. We're all in marketing. And this really gives us a chance to show how that actually has ramifications, that, anybody out there in the kitchen can be the person who, because they were polite, open, enthusiastic, that could be the person who got us the $50,000 grant because they didn't realize the person they were talking to was actually a potential donor. And I think, Pearl's point earlier is that volunteers become donors. This 80 million strong millennial generation coming. And I think Generation Xers too, they're basing their giving patterns on direct experience. They're a trust but verify generation. So I think you can expect a lot more people, and this really, again, gets your entire team into the culture of we're all part of this bigger thing. It's not just development's job to bring in the money. It's our job as a collective, effort.
Wonderful. You make some excellent points and a very convincing argument for the reviews. Carla, a question for you. How do we effectively connect reviews, Facebook, Twitter, and our website? And we received this before the presentation from Amy Fink of People's City Mission.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So in terms of collecting reviews, use all those mediums by posting the link to your writer review page. So we've seen people post it on their Twitter, post it to your Facebook, post it on their website with the review widget. For instance, it'll be really easy for you to collect reviews. You just paste that code onto your website, and it'll be on there, and people will come and decide if they want to write reviews or not. In terms of then distributing out the reviews that you have, let's say you have some fantastic reviews and you want the whole world to know about them. We've seen a lot of nonprofits use it by, again, posting their review links on Twitter, letting people, those are sort of read reviews links. They say, hey, check out our reviews, or check out, if there's particular reviews that they want to spotlight, they will link to that on their Twitter or on their Facebook, or or use it on their websites. A lot of people use the reviews, they'll excerpt it and use it for their annual report. They will put it on a testimonial page on their website. They'll put it on the home page. So it's really, once you have these, these great sticky, I was thinking about Chip Sheets' book, Ideas That Stick, which is the New York Times bestseller book about, why is it that some ideas are so vivid and gets people to act while others, it just goes over people's heads. And one of the things he talks about is, really vivid, concrete stories and how they create the kind of emotions that influence change. One quote from his book is, emotions create change, data does not. And I'm not sure that I completely believe that, because I think, we do make decisions with both our heart and our head. But I think he's trying to make the point that emotions, are a very powerful way to get people to act and donate or make a volunteering decision, for instance. And so the more that you can use your stories holistically throughout Facebook, Twitter, your other marketing mechanisms, and get those really vivid narrative stories out there, I think the more likely you will be successful in your marketing and your outreach.
I would agree with you, Perla. I think that stories are definitely an integral part of the human race and something that has been in our genes for since the beginning of time. I have a question for Dan. For a nonprofit that has a GuideStar account, do you have to qualify for GuideStar Exchange to use the review feature?
This is increasingly being a part of what we're doing. What you do to come on is that you update your information. There's a way of doing that. We think that they work together very well, at least on GuideStar's site, where your up-to-date information about your organization and then your reviews are sitting right next to it, as we showed you on a slide earlier. And so they're very complementary. But as Perla has been talking about, there are ways of taking that those great nonprofit reviews and tweeting about them and encouraging others to write reviews based on the good reviews that you've gotten, and using this as part of some social media strategy to engage people in a very concrete way. And we've also showed, I think, on this presentation today that you're already doing many of these things. You're recruiting volunteers. You're obviously cultivating donors. And this isn't just another way of taking what you're already doing and making it visible and making it transparent, as Robert has been saying. And really, as Kathleen was saying, you're looking for feedback on your work. So you're already doing all these things. We're just enabling you to do it in a way, as Perla was saying, to connect it in a social media strategy. And so this is just taking your game and doing some really concrete ways of engaging folks online.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dan. Here's another question that was submitted online. Do you have to go and check your reviews periodically, or are they emailed to you via some sort of notification?
If you have registered on Great Nonprofits with your email, you get a daily email notification if you get reviews that day.
Wonderful. Okay. And then here's a question that I can answer. Can you explain if GuideStar and Great Nonprofits share the same reviews, or are they separate? Yes, we do share the same reviews, and we are thrilled to be partners with Great Nonprofits. We received several questions. Here is another one. How do we engage people to get a review?
Kathleen, Robert, you guys want to take that one?
Well, when you have volunteers that come in and they're committed to doing it, we've done things a couple different ways. We, at the end of the volunteer experience, we make available sometimes the computers in our space to ask people if they would like to write a review even before they leave. We try to make it as easy as possible for people to be able to write a review too, and we've had success both ways. We tell them the importance of being reviewed, how much we value what they think, and that we regularly look at those reviews. And if they're committed enough to come in and volunteer for you, that it's not difficult to get them to write a review for you too.
I think ditto for us. I mean, we have an orientation when we bring people in, and then we have kind of a debrief at the end. Very short, but it gives us a chance to do our own internal evaluation. But then also, I think similar to Kevin, we offer people the computers if they'd like, or at least we give them the information on how to log on and put this information out. But I think, like anybody who does this, you have a vested interest in this partnership and this opportunity, so we push it as hard as we can.
We do too.
Wonderful. Thank you both very much. There was a quick question earlier that was submitted. The participant wanted to know how many people were participating in this webinar, and we've had over 220 participants on this webinar, and that was, I think it was in relationship to the polls that were being taken. We had several questions, Perla, on how nonprofits can get the widget, and this will be our last question, and then we'll wrap it up.
I think we have all of the email addresses for you guys who registered. So I think we will be sending out an email to you with the code that you just cut and paste. And you just give it to whoever's your webmaster, and they could easily put it on your site. It doesn't work for all sites, is one thing we've learned. There's some sites, if your website has like a JavaScript error on it, it's not going to work. So there's, in a minority of cases, you might have glitches, in which, please contact us and let us know your experience. It should work for the majority of you guys.
So we'll send an email out to everybody who's on the call with the ways of the step-by-step instructions. And Perla, we want to show people the last slide that talks about the green giveaway, and we want to talk about this in terms of a contest that we're engaging with in April, where this is something that GuideStar and Great Nonprofits are doing, and I'll just say a little bit, Perla, and let you finish as well. If you are an environmental organization and you have an environmental focus, or you work with preservation of wildlife, and you have at least 10 reviews that occur, you'll be part of a pool where we'll draw 10 winners at the end of April, and you'll be noticed as the green Great Nonprofit Review winner, and you're going to get $500, top 10 we've drawn out, it's random drawing. We'll get a $500 check from GuideStar just as a way of encouraging you and helping you with your mission. Perla, any thoughts about how to be successful with this contest?
I think that you'll probably get an email from GuideStar or Great Nonprofits to how you can get the word out to your volunteers, your donors, your clients, as well as here's some instructions for how to put out the call on your Twitter or on your Facebook. But there's no way you can lose. I mean, you will get reviews, and that in itself will be fantastic. You will be, I think of all the nonprofits who've done this, gotten reviews, uniformly they tell us, wow, I never knew this is the kind of impact that people say we're making. I am so inspired, and even internally we hear all the time, and they say, wow, internally it just inspires us to continue to do the work we do. So often we don't hear about, what other people think about us, and when we read these reviews, it really just energizes the entire staff to continue to do our work.
Well, thanks, Perla, and thanks, Kathleen, and thanks, Robert, and Karen, you want to just take us away?
Yes, I would like to thank each of you who listened in on today's webinar for nonprofits. I invite you to join us on May 12th as we welcome Sean Stannard-Stockton, CEO of Tactical Philanthropy, and our own Bob Ottenhoff, President and CEO of GuideStar, as they discuss the data points that high-net-worth donors look for when performing their due diligence prior to funding a nonprofit. You may register at our website, guidestar.org, by clicking on News and Webinars. Today, Perla, Dan, Robert, and Kathleen discussed the benefits of having reviews. about your organization. Complete the story through your nonprofit's GuideStar exchange form. After all, information builds trust, trust builds relationships, and relationships generate philanthropy. To update your exchange form, log on to GuideStar.org and click on Update Your Nonprofit Report. Again, I thank you, Perla, Dan, Kathleen, and Robert, for the fine presentation, and I thank each of you who are attending our webinar. This does conclude the webinar, and we hope to hear from you in May.